Hi guys, what is up? Welcome back to my channel. Welcome to another video. I am taking you through a full day in my life, working from home, wake up to go to bed. I usually do vlogs over a few days or usually over a week just because it's easier to get more content, but I'm gonna do my best today, fully take you through my day, what a very normal work day looks like for me. Woo, she's overflowing. If you're new here, hi, I'm Krista. I work from home as a data analyst. I am 27. I live in Charlotte. I have a lifestyle channel over here. We talk a little bit of everything, getting through our later 20s, life, career, fitness, health, just pretty much everything that goes through my life. I take you guys along with me and I really love it. I love my YouTube channel. It's like my favorite thing that I get to do. I feel like we've created a really great community over here and I just really love my little small corner of the internet. So thank you for being here as always. If you are new here, make sure that you subscribe and stick around. Speaking of community, I actually posted on my community tab and asked you guys if there was anything in particular regarding work that you wanted me to talk about. And I got a couple comments and questions, so I thought we could answer those while we go through our day. I wouldn't say work is a top thing that I like to talk about on my channel because honestly, I work 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, and my YouTube channel is more of my creative outlet, so I don't always like to combine work with my creative outlet, but I know it's something that people are interested in and we all work 8 hours a day, so it's definitely relatable. So every once in a while, we talk about work, so I figured I could go through and answer those questions throughout the rest of the video. But with that, I need to go get on my computer. I actually already logged in when I get back from my walk, usually between 8 and 8:15. I will go ahead and get straight logged in for work, make sure I'm online, check a few emails. I'll probably spend 10-15 minutes responding to any quick emails that I can. And then once I feel like we're situated, I will go and make myself a coffee. It is about 8:40 now, and I feel ready to dive into work. You guys would have seen my full morning routine. I am doing kind of a winter lock-in right now where I prioritize a really good morning routine and a really good evening routine, just trying to be the healthiest version of myself. And that is so important when you work from home because it's so easy to not take any care of yourself, to roll out of bed, log right in, never move your body. If I didn't go out of my way to get in walks during my workday, I think I could get less than 300 steps a day. Like something crazy, because I barely leave this room. Now that I'm all caught up on emails and messages, I am going to check in on and organize my to-do list. I use OneNote for my work to-do list. I have it broken out into different notebooks. I have my to-do notebook, and then I have meeting notes, and then I have random other notes. My to-do list is broken up into multiple sections. It's broken up into current, things I can do right now, and then I have my backlog. So if I ever have a slow day at work, these are just little, usually administrative type tasks that I can check my backlog to-do list for and check some of those off. Today, I am on my current to-do list. I have a few things that I need to work on. I'm building a new app for our team. We work a lot in Power BI and we all have a ton of separate apps and dashboards, and I'm working on combining them all into one master dashboard basically. So I'm gonna update my to-do list, make sure all my little tasks are checked off that I've already worked on, and spend some time getting organized before I get straight to work. I just got off my first meeting of the day. I have a morning meeting every single day with my team where we talk about what we're gonna be working on for the day, talk about if we have any questions, all of that. I do like having this meeting every single day. I think working from home, you can have a really large disconnect with your team in comparison to jobs I've had when you go into the office, especially when you work remote. Having that kind of daily sync is important because otherwise, in my job as well, which is pretty independent, I feel like I would never talk to anybody. It's 10:30 a.m. editing Krista. I'm gonna take about 5 minutes to put a little bit of makeup on. And I'm actually realizing that is one of the questions that someone asked on my community tab. They said, tips to connect and rely on colleagues working remotely. This is fully something that I struggle with. I think my job, like I said, is relatively independent. We all have our own dashboards and they're all separate. So my one moment of connection during the day usually is that morning sync. Highly suggest at least having one meeting a day with your team. Try to be a little bit social if you can. Ask how their weekend was. Be human to your teammates. And I would also just say a Teams group chat where you ask questions, send updates. You have to go out of your way to say things and talk to people because otherwise it can get really lonely working remotely. Send a little GIF here and there. It's hard to break the ice through a computer screen. So I would just say go out of your way to show you're human and talk about your weekends, talk about your days, make a joke. I think it's good to break the ice when you're working through a computer screen. Another one was, how did you get the job you're at now, like career path from college? I went into college thinking I fully wanted to do something in medicine. At first it was med school, then it was PA school. I volunteered at multiple hospitals in college. I worked as a CNA in college. Through my experience working in a hospital, I kind of realized this is absolutely not what I want to do, which I am so glad that I had that experience and I was able to figure that out before I dedicated myself to years and years of schooling for something that I don't think I would have liked for so many reasons, but just my experience in particular. I have so much respect for nurses and doctors because that is tough. It's so tough, especially as an empath. I worked in an oncology unit. I worked in a burn unit. It was like so devastating for me doing that. So I just have so much respect for the people who do those things every single day. By the time I realized that was not what I wanted to do, I was a junior in college, which was pretty stressful. I had quite the mental breakdown switching my major going into my junior year, which in hindsight, it's like I had so many years ahead of me and so much time, but it's just stressful feeling like you have to make a decision for what you want to do for the rest of your life at 18, 19, 20 years old. So at that point, as a junior in college, I switched my major to exercise sports science because it was a degree that I still could transfer into the medical field if I wanted to go that way. And with the credits that I had, that major was still something I could finish up without any delays. So then I am going into probably my senior year and I'm thinking, okay, I do like medicine and I like helping people, but I don't want to be hands-on. So what can I do that kind of combines business and healthcare? I always knew I wanted to go to grad school. That was just kind of always something that was a goal for myself, was to get some kind of higher education. At first, like I said, I thought med school, PA school, but then I started looking into, okay, how can I combine business with healthcare? And I found MHA, which is Master of Health Administration. My senior year was also COVID year. Realistically, there was no jobs or anything that I was going to get graduating that May in the thick of COVID. I still wasn't sure fully what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And it was COVID. So I felt like grad school was kind of a good transitional middle ground. I looked at a lot of different programs. I ended up wanting to go to an in-state program for tuition purposes. And don't get me wrong, as much as I loved my undergrad and I loved Chapel Hill, I was kind of ready also to make a change there. So I went to UNC Charlotte, which is how I ended up moving to Charlotte. And I got my master in health administration. I got my first full-time job in my last year of my master's program, working as a recovery analyst. I didn't love that job, honestly. I was calling insurance companies, basically trying to recover payments that they had not made. It was not super fun. I had to make like 20 calls a day. You know, you had to reach certain limit. That was my first full-time job in grad school, and I was making $42,000 a year, which at the time was fine, but just not really enough to survive how I wanted to. But that did give me kind of a good look into the insurance world. I also did a summer internship through a hospital here in Charlotte. And through that internship, once I graduated, they ended up offering me a job. So I was working as a research coordinator at the hospital. I was managing the databases for oncology research. I feel like my path into my current career was not a straight trajectory. I kind of dabbled in always healthcare, but a little bit of everything, from working as a CNA to insurance to research. I was just kind of bouncing my way around the hospital and the healthcare system, figuring out where I wanted to land. So when I was working as a research analyst, we had some other analysts on the team who were higher than me and they worked in SQL. And this was also around the time that I met my now husband, who was a data scientist at the time. So he was big into coding and Python. So this was kind of all surrounding me in my career and in my personal life. And I thought it was pretty cool. At this point, as the research analyst, I was making about $55,000. So I had gotten a good raise, you know, from 42 to 55, but honestly, I still just wanted more money. And I was trying to figure out, okay, how can I continue to grow my career, combine all these things that I have on my resume? And I started looking at coding because, like I said, my boyfriend at the time was doing that and I felt like he had a really good situation going on there with his salary and flexibility and all those things. And so then I signed up for a coding boot camp back at UNC Chapel Hill, fully online, because I was like, all right, I am going to learn how to code and I'm going to get a job coding. I did a 6-month coding boot camp. At the time, I was also waiting tables because in order to do the coding boot camp, I think it cost $12,000. It was expensive. And I had a private loan for that and I really wanted to pay off that loan. So I was waiting tables while I was paying for this boot camp. Waiting tables, working as a research analyst, doing a boot camp. We had a lot going on. And oddly enough, I ended up meeting another data analyst working at the same restaurant I was working at. Her team was hiring and she was like, send me your resume, I'll submit you. And she did, and I got that job. And that is where I am now. It has been so good, this job. I just feel like I was dancing around data, but I hadn't really submitted into it. And I really came into this job pretty much a beginner. I had a little bit of experience and I had done the coding boot camp, but this job has just taught me so much. And it's a really big company, which I have enjoyed working for because both my previous jobs were smaller companies. And so working at a big company, I feel like I really understand the corporate world better now. And that's where I am now. A lot of school, a lot of trying new things, failing at things, and just finding what is going to work best for me. Something I prioritize a lot now that I used to not really care about is work-life balance. When I first started in college, I was like, I'm gonna be a doctor. And then when I went to my master's, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna be a CEO, hospital administrator. But then I actually dipped my toe into the real world and I was like, wait a second. I do not want to be a girl boss CEO. I want to have a good, flexible job that I work hard at and that I advance in from 9 to 5. And then I want to come home to a good life and enjoy my life outside of work more than work being my everything. Of course, work is important. And like I said, I do want to continue to advance and grow my skills. At the end of the day, I don't feel like data analytics has much to do with who I am to my core and who I am as a person. I'm good at it and I enjoy it for what it is. But what I really enjoy is the life and the flexibility in my life that it allows me to have. And that's a really big shift that happened to me in my 20s, going from thinking my career would be my everything to realizing it's really just a vehicle to the rest of the things that I enjoy. But that's a very long chatty segment on how I ended up in my job. Okay, back to work. I'll check in with you in an hour or two. It's time for one of my favorite moments of the day, lunchtime. Have I already had 2 coffees? Yes. You gotta do what you gotta do to get through the workday. And now we're gonna have a nice, healthy meal. It's so important to me that my lunches are healthy. I would say at least 4 out of 5 days a week, if not 5 out of 5, I'm just eating leftovers from dinner the night before. So last night for dinner, we had the TikTok viral beef cottage cheese sweet potato bowls, and I have just enough left over for lunch today for a filling, healthy lunch. I have a few things I want to knock out during this lunch break, including some things around the house. I can give myself up to an hour, especially on a Friday. There's just not as much going on, but I wouldn't say I usually use the whole hour. We'll see how much I actually get done before I want to log back on for work. I do have a pretty important afternoon meeting that I definitely need a good amount of time to prep for. But first things first, we need to eat. This is so good. The addition of the arugula is just a game changer. I wanted to touch on another topic that was asked on my community tab. I think this question got asked 3 times in different ways. And I want to talk about how to manage heavy workloads, how I don't get distracted, how I manage household tasks during the day, kind of everything around how I get my work done. Sorry, I just realized how hungry I am. I started eating this and now I just want to stuff my face. I feel like I have a lot of different ways that I handle my workload, but the number one for me is having a really well-organized to-do list and constantly checking and updating my calendars. If you are not organized and your brain is in disarray, I just think it's that much harder to get your work done. So I fully suggest a well-organized to-do list and calendar that works for you. I am always checking, double checking, triple checking my deadlines. Most times, knock on wood, I get all my work out well before the deadline. I'm just big on staying on top of things. If I have something really important that needs to get done and quick, the best thing I can do is minimize distractions. I actually think a really good way to do this is to switch up your environment and go somewhere new. Maybe that's a coffee shop. If I go to a coffee shop, I am going to grind. I'm gonna get so much work done. The only issue I have with that these days is with the work I do with coding and data. I really value having my monitors and having big screens. And when I go to coffee shops, I don't usually have that. So if I'm gonna go work at a coffee shop, I usually save more administrative type work for those moments. But if you are not working with small numbers and data, and it's a little bit easier for you to switch up your environment, I think that is one of my number one tips for getting a ton of work done is to move locations. Get out of your apartment because there are so many distractions around us when you work from home. So for me, if I need my computers and I need to get a lot of work done, I will do something that I call a power hour, where I put my phone away in the desk. I set a timer for an hour and I have to work for that entire hour. If I finish what I'm doing, great, I can cut the hour short. Something about setting a timer just makes me zone in. A lot of times when I'm doing the power hour, I will walk on my walking pad or use my standing desk to stand up. I think that's just another way to kind of reduce distractions because you're focused on walking, so you can't really focus on anything else around you. So if I really need to get something done quickly, I'll do my power hour. Phone away, timer set, which is so key. Sometimes I walk, sometimes I don't. And that really allows me to lock in on my work. The best way to avoid distractions is to eliminate them. So phone is away in another room. That's probably my biggest distraction is my phone. Having your to-do list up to date so you know what you need to be working on. Those are probably my best tips. At the end of the day, a lot of it is intrinsic motivation, I do think. I am a hard worker. I'm a motivated person. I'm a productive person for the most part. And I want to be good at my job and I want to get praise for my job and I want to deliver these things quickly and successfully. A huge motivator for me is finances, honestly. I think that's a huge motivator for a lot of people. I want my paycheck and I want promotions and I want to keep doing better, making more. And that's a huge intrinsic motivator for me. So as much as I have all these tips and tricks for how to focus and get your work done, a lot of it is finding your motivation. What is your motivation for the work that you're doing? Whatever's going to motivate you to get your work done works for you. How do I handle household responsibilities during the workday? I allow myself to do them. For example, I'm about to unload the dishwasher after I finish my lunch. Allowing yourself to take breaks is important, even if it's a few 10-minute breaks, one long break, however you want to break it up. I think every job is different. My job, as long as I'm getting my work done and meeting my deadline, I have a lot of flexibility. My old job that I was telling you guys about, where I was making phone calls, I didn't have as much flexibility because I had to make a certain amount of calls a day. So I understand all jobs are different, but just speaking with my current experience, I will allow myself to fold some laundry, unload the dishwasher. If it's distracting me in my mind and it's bothering me, I'll just knock it out quickly. Obviously, up to an extent, you still need to work and get your work done. If you're falling behind on work because of your household responsibilities, you need to find a better system for you. That system might be setting a timer for your breaks. So, okay, I only get 10 minutes and I can go unload the dishwasher. Set a timer. I really do think timers and paying close attention to how much time you're spending doing things is helpful. I start talking and then I just babble for way too long. So I'm gonna quickly finish this, unload the dishwasher, and I'm gonna get back to work. Okay, not really sure what happened here. My dishwasher ran, like everything is wet, but the soap for some reason didn't dispense. So scratch that. I'll come back to that later. Okay, just spent the last 2 hours stressing over a meeting that I had coming up and I got that done. So now it really feels like Friday. It's 3:15, which usually would be about the time of my midday crash, but I feel like I get adrenaline from important meetings. And then after them, I'm like in such a good mood because they're done with. So I'm not crashing. I probably will be shortly. Gonna take a 20-minute break right now. I need to take my dog out. He's waiting very patiently. So we're gonna do a quick walk around the block. I'm gonna come back, probably have myself a little snack, a sparkling water, and then we'll finish up our Friday. I went to a book club last night and I had to bring an appetizer, so I made these puff pastry, ham, cheese things. They're very tasty. So this is what I'm gonna have for my 3 p.m. pick-me-up, a LaCroix, couple bites of this appetizer. They're good. The Friday energy is seeping into my body. We have an hour and a half until we can officially log off of work, and I am gonna try to go get in a workout. And I don't really have any plans tonight, which I'm good with. Yes, it is a little bit after 6 and I'm in my pajamas, but I told you guys I wanted to have a relaxing evening, which leads me to my last 2 questions on my community tab, which are what do you do to unwind in the evening? And how do you get yourself out of the house on a weekday? / what do you do for fun during the work week? I feel like these all kind of go together, but I do want to make some dinner. So let's do that first and then we'll sit down and have another chat. I'm on my own for dinner tonight. So I was looking through the fridge and we have all the ingredients for a really good Italian chicken sausage stir fry. So I'm gonna cook up these chicken sausages, and then we have a zucchini, half a red onion, some tomato. I just threw some rice in the rice cooker. I love chicken sausage and I love veggies, I love rice. So this is really an ideal dinner for me. This entire evening routine is a perfect example of what I do to unwind in the evenings. Once I log off work, I really like to get out of the house if I can. Usually that's going to work out, but even if it's just a quick walk, something to separate my brain from work. It's like I have to shut that out by going and doing something completely different is my first step to winding down. And then once I make dinner, eating with a show or eating with YouTube is very sacred time for me. I like entertainment while I'm eating. So once I have a warm, cozy dinner, some of my favorite creators, like this to me is very cozy unwind time. If I'm feeling really crazy and really cozy, I'll take a bath. That's if I'm like really wanting to relax. Something I do though is try to be on my phone as little as possible in the evenings. I really try to avoid doom scrolling whenever I can, but especially during like mealtime, evening relaxation. I'm a simple girl. This is really all I need. And then after I have a little bit of like entertainment, YouTube, reality TV time, I will move on to a book with my tea. And that to me is equally relaxing. That like tells my brain, okay, we're going to bed in the next hour or so. What do I do for fun during my work week? This one has changed a lot. Even in the last year, I find myself needing less and less socialization, honestly. I just enjoy my routine so much that sometimes getting out of it is exhausting. Whereas I used to go out like 3+ nights a week and love it and look forward to it. So it's something now that I really have to be intentional about and force myself to do to get out of the house during the work week in particular. I always tell myself if I see my friends just one time this week, I'm happy with that. Every week is different. For example, last night I went to a book club and that was my like one thing out of the house, out of my routine for the week. And I enjoyed it. And every time I go and do something, I enjoy myself. It's just hard for me to break out of my routine. But I think even just lowering the bar a little bit. You don't have to get out of the house after work and go to some big social event every week. One of my favorite ways to socialize and get out of the house is to go on a walk with a friend, go to the gym with a friend, something that I'm already going to do, and then just adding on my friend. Literally the other week, me and my friend went to Whole Foods together after work. She was like, I need some fish. I'm going to Whole Foods. I was like, okay, I'll come with you. Seriously, just simple things like that. And with friendships, those are the friendships that I really value at this time in my life. There's a time and a place for everything. There's a time and a place for high effort friendships, but on a weekly basis, friends that I can just do those low effort hangouts with, that's something I really prioritize. I'm just looking back at my calendar so I can tell you like some other things that I've done during the work week. This week was book club. Last week I went to the Jonas Brothers concert with a friend. The week before that I went over to a friend's house and we watched Dancing with the Stars. The week before that I was in New York City. I'm a big scheduler, so I try to have something on my schedule every week if I can that gets me out of the house. And if I don't have something on my schedule, I'll find something simple like a walk or a grocery store run, because it is hard when it's dark outside and I just want to be here on my couch with my comfort shows. In our finale for my day, my full work day. I'm gonna make a tea, take my vitamins, and go to bed. I've been meaning to tell you guys some of the vitamins that I take. I'm not telling you to take these, but I will tell you why I chose to take them. The newest one in my routine is magnesium. I mainly started taking this one because it's supposed to help with sleep, and sleep is something that I struggle on and off with. I actually think my sleep has gotten so much better. I think it's a combination of things. I don't just think it's the magnesium that I started taking. I think it's the fact that I have developed this evening routine and morning routine that's really working for me. I think waking up at a consistent time, going to bed at a consistent time, not looking at my phone after 8 p.m., drinking tea every night, taking the magnesium. I'm sure all these things are working together to make my sleep so much better. It's been so good lately. Magnesium I started taking for sleep. It also is supposed to help reduce stress. It's also supposed to be good for your muscles and your heart, all those good things. I think I'm gonna try this lemon zinger tea tonight. Oh, it's like red. I was not expecting that. The next three that I take are all supposed to be good for your immune system. So I take vitamin C, vitamin D, and zinc. But then they all obviously have their own benefits as well. So that's what I'm currently taking for those curious. I am not telling you to take these things because everyone is different, and highly suggest getting your levels tested, talking to your doctors. I probably need to get my levels tested again. Look at this color. I was not expecting such a bright red from the lemon zinger tea. It looks like Secret Lives of Mormon Wives has dropped the new season on Hulu, I think. I hope so. So I'm about to crawl in bed with my tea. It is 8:40. I'm gonna get in bed and enjoy my cozy night. Very lemony. The goal is to be lights out, TV off by 10, and then asleep before 10:30. I honestly had a really good day. I felt like I got a lot done at work today. We got in a workout. I had a relaxing evening, which was much needed for me. I wasn't feeling 100% when I woke up this morning. I was feeling a little bit run down, but I feel rejuvenated. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think of just like the full day in my life, morning to evening, in comparison to going through a few days. I don't do these single days in my life often, but if you guys like them, I can start adding them in. I feel like I'll always have just the few days in my life vlogs because they're easy and I enjoy them. But let me know what you think. Thank you as always. I mean it from the bottom of my heart, especially if you made it all the way to the end. Should we do a fun emoji? Okay, if you made it all the way to the end, leave the tea emoji for our tea habit. I will see you guys so very soon in my next video. Bye guys.